that I don't remember. Hold and let it shine. Fixing stars to fade away. Fixing stars to fade away. Fixing stars to fade away.
Hello, dear friends of Kabbalah International. We are once again with Mario Sabán.
Shalom, Nacho. How are you?
Shalom, very good, very happy to deal with this topic today. We are going to talk about the paranormal experiences, the experiences that, in principle, science or the rational mind cannot explain.
That's right. In any case, notice that from the perspective of Kabbalah, everything hidden is destined for revelation. In other words, at some point it can be explained.
So it is.
And this belongs above all to the dimension of chokmah, to the dimension of intuition, of wisdom. There are undoubtedly energies that have consciousness on the other side, we know this, and they interact with us. Therefore, there are many forms of situations or paranormal tendencies, if we can call them that, within Kabbalah, because, for example, we can have the past, present, and future mixed together. Let me tell you an anecdote. In the year 1992, I had a dream in which a child appeared and opened a window. I remember perfectly. I remember the window. I remember the boy. I remember everything very well. It was a green space. I would come walking through this green space. The child would open the windows and say, "Daddy, Daddy." This was in the year 92. At that time I had no children. My first son Max was born in the year 2004. And time passed, and around in 2007, no, because he was very young, but around 2010 approximately, I came home from work. I came in from behind my house. There was a green space. I started to walk, and suddenly the windows open, and he says, "Daddy, Daddy," and greets me. When this happened to me in approximately 2010, we are talking about, 20-something years, 18 years after this memory from 1992, it was clear that what had happened was that in 1992, I had received some information in advance. Let's say it was information from the future, which makes one start to question free will, because if you're already seeing the future, that future is undoubtedly apparently predetermined, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see it. In terms of Kabbalah, through direct experiences with Kabbalistic matters, I've encountered this a lot with the books of Shalom Sharabi, which are the books of the great systems of meditation with the letters and the names of God, many of the names of God. I remember an anecdote. When I opened one of Sharabi's books, I heard the voice of a woman who was like floating, and I could see a kind of cloud. She was telling me something for her daughter, and when I shared it with her daughter, she confirmed it. So I realized that there was a relationship between that kind of meditation and energy calls and movements. It seems to me that the important thing is not the medium, because in the end, these paranormal questions have to do with the means of information. Over the years, being in Kabbalah, one ceases to have any fear. At the beginning, one's relationship with this type of experience is one of astonishment, because you say it can't happen. Then, as time goes by, they stop astonishing you because they become part of everyday life. Therefore, sometimes paranormal issues happen to me in everyday life, but I no longer assume them as paranormal because I see them as part of the flow of information that we could call normal. So I believe that these paranormal issues within Kabbalah are normalized. And therefore a person does not live in fear if they still cause surprises because there are too many coincidences. No one can take away the surprise because they are synchronicities that occur on a very strange level. So those synchronicities are the ones that really lead one to think that there is another reality that we are capturing through these paranormal situations.
I totally agree with you. I also live these experiences and I live them in my daily life. In fact, I would like to share with you something extraordinary that happened to me 2 Shabbats ago. Coinciding with the celebration of Shabbat, I decided to do, let's say, a kind of parallel ritual. And at the same table where I was at that moment, I imagined my father at the table, my great-grandfather and my grandfather, and at the moment of the Kiddush I also toasted with them and drank. And well, I remember the image of my great-grandfather, who I obviously didn't know, but I do have a picture of my great-grandfather that is next to my father, who was a little boy, and I shared it. I shared that picture on social networks. I had been talking about my great-grandfather with my Mora, and curiously, 2 days later, a cousin of my father, who was a few kilometers away from the town where my great-grandfather was born, called me and asked me to please tell her the exact location because she had a huge need to go. And she went and was talking to people there and getting good information about him. So that synchronicity, of course, are things that sometimes one neglects or says, what a coincidence, right?
I also experienced a synchronicity, well, many, but the ones I remember might be the most significant. I always resisted visiting Poland, especially Auschwitz, and once I went there with a group of travelers. And the day I went to the gas chambers was on the 24th or 25th of May. I think it was the 25th, and I was wondering why it was the 25th of May. My father remembers that the 25th of May was what they considered to be the day of my conception, and they were clearly aware that it was the 25th of May. And the curious thing is that it happened again just recently, on the 25th of May 2024, a synchronicity on the same day. And synchronized dreams on that same day. In Auschwitz, I had the sensation that people were emerging from the gas chambers, as if souls were coming out, and I was guiding them out. That is, they were coming out, as if the purpose of my life was to bring those souls out of there and return them to life. It was a very strange situation, but at the same time, it resonated with the sense of my life. So paranormal issues are common in Kabbalah. You don't have to be afraid of them, and you have to get the information out of them.
Of course.
That's the point.
Yes, what is important is not the event itself, but what can be interpreted with respect to that situation, the conclusions.
That's right. But when you have a paranormal experience, you realize it in the moment, that there is a coincidence, there is a relationship.
Yes.
Between information that comes to you and a physical event. Information comes to you, I am reading from a book about such and such a subject, and a physical event appears related to what you are reading. Then sometimes you say, what happened here? Was the physical event that was going to appear to me the confirmation of my reading? Did my reading precede the physical event and prepare me for this physical event? There are many issues that arise here. For me, the fundamental question is that between the information and the event, we need to be very attentive not just to the situation itself, which is paranormal, but to the information that comes to us.
I see that we are being quite progressive in the reporting of paranormal experiences. Perhaps we do it intuitively. It may be a way to not alarm our audience.
No, the audience has to know that paranormal situations are reached, yes.
I mean, because we're not explaining things that might be a little bit stronger.
But what happens? I think that it seems to me that people also should not be afraid of this situation because we can comment on stronger issues. But that stronger issue, I reiterate, is an instrument of strong information.
Of course.
Coincidences can be very significant, and you can reach a very high level of perception of reality, such as knowing that some of your students have come with you from a previous era through perception. There are many paranormal aspects in Kabbalah, but I believe that one should approach Kabbalah not through the paranormal, but through the information. That brings me that paranormal situation.
Of course. Well, I think this topic is worth exploring further, but I believe it merits doing so progressively and sharing experiences of our own or others in future chapters.
Of course, contact with souls of dead people, information coming back and forth, changes of time, time vectors, slowing down of time, etc.
Well, look, let's take this opportunity to ask the people who see us, who follow us, if they really want us to continue talking about this.
I even think it's possible to invite all those who are watching to explain their paranormal experiences, as you'll find that when they are shared, they are quite normal and common among people. What happens is that we hesitate to share them, we don't want to communicate them, we feel embarrassed or shy, but I believe that as we increase our levels of consciousness, these paranormal experiences need to be discussed and normalized, so we look forward to your comments.
Great, Mario.
My pleasure. Shalom.